Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game. Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code IRONSUMMIT, all caps. That's code IRONSUMMIT, no spaces, all caps, for 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
All right. We're live. Got a special guest today. Made us take all our shirts off from the Jersey Shore. Sebastian Rivera himself, newly minted Olympic Bronze Medalist, five-time NCAA All-American. Spent the first 4 years with him at Northwestern, and then he was at Rutgers. Olympic world silver medalist, where he said Olympic bronze medalist recently, and then just started coaching at Columbia. What's up, Sebastian?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
You killed that intro, Ryan.
Yeah, dude, I get flustered. Like, I know what I'm gonna say, and I know Sebastian, and it's still like just start recording, I mess it up.
It's all good. We got the point. Sebastian's really good at wrestling.
Very good at wrestling, and I think kind of the family thing. First thing I want to talk to you about, Sebastian, like, how'd you get into wrestling, and maybe talk a little bit, the role your dad and elite wrestling has played in kind of your upbringing.
Yeah, so my dad started elite wrestling back in like 92 in Connecticut. He was a coach at a South Connecticut university. He started up there training some guys, and then he transformed it to Jackson. So that's where the barn was, and he had Frankie Edgar, just a bunch of legends come through, and it was in my backyard. So I really didn't have a choice. It was like, hey, are you going to come back here and wrestle? It was 100 feet away. So yeah, I made it back there, and yeah, I mean, it made me a tougher wrestler. I think at the end of the day, the heat, I was always in there getting extra workouts and stuff. So yeah, it played a huge role in making me want to wrestle. And I think we just have a wrestling family. My mom's working the desk, my dad's running the club. So it just all made sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
What percent of your success do you attribute to being from New Jersey?
I think it gives you a little bit of the motherfucker, I don't know. You got to, dude, to be from Jersey.
There we go.
Yeah, you can't just be some soft guy. So yeah, definitely, it made me tougher being from Jersey and being around guys like Frankie who are just tough and they're making fun of you, and you gotta adapt, and it makes it tough. So definitely.
So Seb, that's something I want to talk about with you too. I didn't know we'd get into it this early, but like, I think your mindset is amazing in wrestling. You've like come up big on all these big matches. I think about like your state finals match coming from behind in high school. I'm thinking like a Spencer Lee big match, Big Tens, you're hurt, you come back with like a week left and you go take out like Roman Bravo, Young, like big names. The Olympics, you go through this meat grinder while you're hurt. I think what part of that, I think some people that comes naturally to, and some people it doesn't. And then I think you can train it as well. Where do you get that mindset? And then follow-up question after that, I'd like to talk about like how much of that you think is natural and how much you train that growing up.
Yeah, I think that ability to come from behind is this belief in your training and then finding peace in your suffering. So I do all these things I don't want to do because I found peace in it. And I know it's not fun, but I know at the end of the day, it's going to make me a lot better at wrestling and things I'm going to do in my life. But I also think it comes with, before I go to bed, I think about, like, for 3 months straight, I think about winning the Olympics and not wanting to lose. So like, it's a balance. Like, I want to win this bad, but I also don't want to lose this bad. So I sit there and wrestle with it, and I go through the bracket in my head every night. And yeah, that's just something that it's in my head. And I think it makes me tough. It makes my mind tough. And I'm like, I thought about this for 3 months straight. It's time to go out and prove it, So I think you can train it, but I do think a little bit is just natural. You have to have tough people around. You have to have a little bit of a tough um, upbringing. I mean, my parents, like, I didn't come from rags, but my mom is super tough. She's a Puerto Rican lady. She used to put the hammer down every once in a while. And I didn't grow up in no, oh, it's okay type of home. It was, you did something wrong, there was consequences, you know? And I think that's a big reason why I'm tough at the end of the day as well.
But it's more like when the lights are shining bright and it's like, there's 10 seconds left on the clock, like, you're going to give everything. Like, people know that about you. And I think it's most people shy away in those moments. And I was thinking about this, kind of just thinking about this podcast and asking you about it. And it's like, some people really struggle at that. Some people are born with it, I think. And then there's a certain level you can develop it. And I think you've developed it really well through training, through your preparation, through all that like hard stuff. But I also think like naturally you're really good at that. And I think that's helped. I don't know. I want to pick your brain on like how you're thinking when there's 30 seconds left and you're down by 2. Like what are you thinking when it goes through that and you're in a bronze medal match at the Olympics?
Yeah, I think it's just I hate losing that much. I hate that feeling of losing. I hate that, and it's like almost embarrassing. People might not say it's embarrassing, but like when you lose, it's embarrassing. It's demoralizing. We live in an age of social media where you're going to see it for the next years, and on social media, you lose in the Olympic bronze medal match, stuff like that. And I take that personally. I don't want to be that highlight reel. I want to be the guy on top of the highlight reel. Um, but yeah, I mean. I think it is natural, like you're saying, but I do think you can train it in the sense of you have to hate losing this much. You train so hard because you hate losing. Because winning's fun for what? We like when we all have won things in our life. It's fun for what? 10 minutes? You're like, all right, whatever. But on to the next thing. But losing, it lives with you for a long time, way longer than when winning. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is I hate losing that much.
Yeah. That is the fear is a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
That is for sure. What are some ways like you think what are your favorite ways to train a little Jersey toughness?
Yeah,
What's things you can control?
Things you can control is just being able to wrestle 7 minutes hard, 6 minutes hard, whatever it is. And that's, for me, it comes from running. Like I'll run 2 miles as fast as I can. I know Ryan did this a lot in college, right? When we ran, it was as hard as we could. It wasn't like we were going for a jog. Like you can look over on D and he would be running on 12 miles an hour for 2 miles as hard as he could. You know what I mean? And I'd be doing the same thing. And we used to race and stuff. Like when we went on runs together, it was who's going to win. It wasn't, let's just go for a nice jog, and that's just the competitive spirit in us. But I think running is the best thing you could do for your mind and your body. I mean, it's brutal on your mind. You're like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I pushing so hard? I can slow down and do the same thing I'm doing. You know what I mean? But I think it makes you be able to wrestle for 6 minutes hard with no question. And that's where I did that for 3 months straight. All I did was I would wrestle in the morning and run. So that's
I love that you just said that. Max is against running. I'm trying to get him to run a marathon. A little different, but at 250 pounds might be a little tough for him.
I don't think.
No, but Sebastian, I think you said something super important too that I didn't think about going into college, but I feel like super lucky that I went in the same time as you, because it was like having somebody next to me where we're pushing each other side by side. I think you made me a better wrestler the whole time I was at Northwestern, and I think that like having that competitive edge with somebody and you're like competing with your teammates, but like also picking your teammates up was super important. And I think that kind of like you're saying, that competitiveness, I think it comes natural with some people, but then like you said, you got to back it up with a lot of work. But I think you do a great job too of usually when people get emotional in matches, it's like a horrible thing. They gas themselves, they make bad decisions, they step into a shot. When the emotions got high, you leveled up your game. And so I don't know if you can even like articulate what how that happens, but I do think that you have a special ability in those big moments to step up, and how you stay calm, but also let the emotions like level you to that next level. Do you have any kind of idea on how that works for you?
Yeah, I think for me, and you're right. In those big moments in college, it would happen sometimes, and that's because like say I'm losing in a match, second period, third period, whatever it is, I'm on bottom. I would just say to myself, you are not losing this match. You are not. That's what I'm saying in my mind. You are not losing this match, right? But as I've gotten older and into the senior level stuff, like I'm pretty content. Like when I took silver in worlds, like I was pretty content with my career. But now everything's just bonus to me, you know. So when I'm in those big time moments, I'm like, let's just go out and let's give it all. Like I knew with the Mongolian, I felt comfortable in a double under. I didn't feel comfortable with him having an underhook, but if I had double unders, I felt like I was in a good spot. So with 30 seconds left, that's what I was digging for the whole time because I knew that that's what I could get to and maybe threaten him. So in those moments, just like smarting up and like knowing where you're better than this guy and trying to force that position, I think that's also a big thing. And that's just comes from wrestling and smart wrestling, you know, and having a lot of time on the mat and IQ. But yeah, I think that's the best way I can articulate it.
Love it.
What are you? Do you think now that you've accomplished some of these major milestones, like Olympic bronze medalist, world silver medalist? There you go, Ryan. That's how you say it.
What I said.
Do you think?
Olympic world medalist.
Yeah, Olympic world silver medalist.
Hey, I'm giving you silver in the Olympics. Congrats.
Do you think? But now that you and you said it, do you think you're like that level of content that you have? Is it more fun?
Yeah, it's way more fun. Like I have a great time when I'm with Jeff and Downey at these events. Like it's just another day for us. Like I'm training, I'm eating normal. It's only fun when you do it right though. Like making weight's not fun, obviously, but everything else, competing is fun at these new venues and things. But you get sick of traveling and like all those other things as well. So it's like a balancing. Is it fun or is it this is another week from home? You know, and it's a balance. But when I compete, yeah, that's the most fun I can have in my year, you know?
That's awesome.
That's what it's all
And
about.
so with you stepping up in your career, right, and kind of moving from the college wrestling world into such an advanced level that only a percentage make it there, right? What would you say is kind of that driving factor of like what helped you push it to that next level, right? Because we see a lot of college football players, for example, never make it to the NFL, right? They never touch greatness past that, right? So what do you feel was that driving factor for you that really pushed you over that edge?
That I didn't win a national title. Pretty simple. That's it. I didn't win a national title. I didn't get that satisfaction, but I got it later in life, and I'm happy about that, and I'm grateful for it. You know, everybody that does this sport needs something that makes them accept everything that they've done. Like all that work, it wasn't for nothing. I got it later in life, but yeah, just because I didn't win a national title, I knew I had to level this up and work really hard towards this goal.
Were there specific things in your training on and off the mat that you did to like push it to the next level on the international stage?
Parterre is so hard if you've never done it before. Like I didn't wrestle a lot of freestyle growing up, and parterre is hard on bottom and on top, and I spent a lot of time there. And as we saw, like that's what changed the matches for me in the Olympics was just my parterre offense. So yeah, I spent a lot of time there, and off the mat, I went to the training lab out in California, and he gave me some tips on how to clean everything up and live a healthier life. And do I live that life all the time? No, because life's about balance in my mind. But when it's time, push comes to shove, I do that stuff. I eat healthy. I drink my Ultimate to get everything right. I eat my vitamins, everything, you know, and I do that stuff right for 3 months, and I get good results. And then I'm back to my dirty living a little bit, and then I'll get back to it though.
Well, a couple things. One, Johnny, just so you're not completely lost, and anyone who's not an avid wrestling fan, parterre is like the mat wrestling in freestyle wrestling, like top and bottom wrestling. So that's definitely makes sense. That was a big adjustment because in college wrestling, it's a totally different type of top and bottom wrestling. And then what were some of the tips they gave you at the training lab?
Honestly, things that you guys do that you just don't realize, and I probably didn't know, but just like electrolytes are really important, and all those types of things that I just was skipping out on and not realizing that it mattered that much, but it didn't, because it makes you feel a lot better when you just eat clean. That was the biggest thing for me. Like I eat clean, but I have a big sweet tooth. So after I eat clean, I want something dirty, you know what I mean? But for 3 months, 3 months, I didn't do that, and I'm eating steak. I'm eating a ribeye almost every day, or chicken, something along those lines, sweet potatoes. And anyway, I just stuck to a regimen and it worked out, but that was the biggest thing, is just the food and no sweet stuff, just cut that stuff out.
What about when you're
Yeah.
bulking up, right? I mean, you started at 125, 133, 141, you're wrestling 65 kilos, 143 and a half-ish. So obviously it's a pretty big change in weight. You were obviously a big 25 pounder. But strength comes into a factor. You're super strong as is, but like as you go up, you got bigger guys. How has your strength training changed as you grew into those different weight classes?
Yeah, I know you're not going to like to hear this, but I haven't lifted in a year. I haven't touched a weight.
Yeah, that's a bad answer.
I know.
We're gonna
doesn't-
edit that out.
It doesn't surprise
Guys,
me though, because
So-
Sebastian's
so
the
that was
strongest.
just saying
Like
how much you lift.
I did not touch. I haven't touched a weight in those 3 months. I didn't touch one weight. But I will say, when I did jump from 33 to 41, I did spend a lot of time in the weight room. So did that make you happier, Max?
Yeah, that's a better answer.
Yeah. I did from the 30.
I don't know.
You got
No, go ahead.
from 33 to 40.
I was gonna say I don't know what we talk about for the rest of the podcast now that we know that Sebastian doesn't lift.
No, all right. I do.
I'm kidding.
Listen, once a month, I put up 225, and I make sure I can still do that. And if I can't, the day I can't, I'll start lifting again. For real.
The other thing though is like, I
That's
mean,
impressive.
wrestling hard is resistance training, right? I'm not saying to like never lift weights, but it is a type of resistance training. And Sebastian, you're somebody that like, I remember when I first got to Northwestern, like you're a 25 pounder. I was a 49 pounder. I'm like, your grip strength. I'm like, yeah, this dude's, you got a strong grip, So there's some people that can hold their own with that strength. So strength was never a limiting factor for you.
Yeah.
You'd be really freaking strong if you were lifting a lot for sure. But like, obviously your strength is just fine for where you're at.
No, yeah, for sure. I'm just scared if I do lift, I'll weigh 175 pounds. You want
That's a bold statement there.
I started taking creatine for a week and I weighed 170 pounds and I wasn't even lifting. I was like, this is bad. I have to get off of this stuff.
What were you? Yeah, but how many of those sweet treats were you adjusting with your creatine? Or was it just creatine?
No, that's what
I want to know what
healthy. I was
creatine
living
you're
healthy that through. I was living healthy then.
This guy's he's gonna touch like you gotta lift for a couple weeks and just be a monster.
Yeah, I'm end up looking like
Get you
Ryan might need your creatine protocol.
Dude, Sebastian, I'm trying to get to 200 pounds. It's not working.
man. If you could get it. What do you weigh? 180, 185?
Yeah, around there. Maybe, yeah, give me 185.
It's those
it's
legs.
closer to 180.
It's those
I think.
legs.
It's those
He's
legs.
cut out of fucking stone besides his leg, his little small legs.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
Oh,
Come on, am I wrong though?
I like this.
You're built like a Greek god, and then you kind of little legs for your big ass body.
Wow. All right.
man. You go right
That
to
one
the
hurt,
throat.
bro.
That
That one
hurt.
hurt.
I thought that was known. Like you're fucking built like everybody wishes they could be built.
All right, Seb.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit a soft spot. Obviously, it was a soft spot. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's all right, man. It's all right. It's fine.
It's okay.
Rolls right
You
off.
got all the show muscles, Ryan. That's all that matters.
Hey, man. I appreciate that, Johnny. Thank you. Sebastian, I'll
need-
be hitting legs 3 days a week now. Appreciate that too.
There you go.
Well, my favorite thing it's still to this day, people come up to me and be like, Ryan Deacon, man, how did he Nate 157? I'd be like, you guys don't, he would cut 6 pounds the day before and be on weight. That's all he did. Like everybody thinks he weighed so much. I'm like, this dude barely cut weight. Like he just lives a good life and eats great and all that stuff all the time. And you're on weight in one workout. You were always on weight, no?
Yeah, no, it was. I think learning your body and stuff, and like we had great coaches, it helped us out and
For
stuff
sure.
with kind of learning nutrition and stuff. But yeah, for sure, I think it's tough because it's throughout the week keeping it close. But I'd much rather not have to crash cut. I think that gets tough throughout the season.
Yeah, but that's my favorite
Yeah.
thing. I don't he
And
can make weight. He didn't even.
also, Ryan's like a bird. He has hollow bones.
He has to, right?
So he's
Nah.
like,
He has to
Yeah.
have hollow bone. He's massive.
because you would look at Ryan, Johnny next to the guys he was wrestling, and you were like, that doesn't even make sense. That's like a little boy compared to Ryan.
Yeah, he was
But
huge.
also,
All right,
Ryan
let's-
carries like very low body fat year round
Yes, very true.
through a good lifestyle and hard work, but also
Yeah.
he's a freak.
But
Well,
now
have a
I need
question.
this.
A quick for you guys, right? It's how much genetics play a role in being a great wrestler.
It's a good question. I think
That is a
Seb,
great
you're up.
question.
I think it does. I think it does play a role for sure. Like talent, if talent works hard, that's the best guy in the world. You know what I mean? But
That's Ryan Deacon.
yeah, exactly.
Right? Because I look at
Nah,
you, Sebastian, right? And it's like you don't lift. You're like, I don't lift weights, right? And there's people that have to kill themselves in the weight room to get stronger, to have that conditioning, to be able to place better, right? Whereas you're over here like, hey, I got a sweet tooth, I eat whatever I want, and then come on season, I'm on point with my nutrition, right? So how much of that is actually like you having that genetic, but also putting in a lot of that work behind it to make those genetics count, right?
I think when you wrestle a lot, though, it makes you strong. Being wrestling strong and weight room strong are two different things. Like I know, like remember D'Agostino? Like that dude would lift so much more than me, Deacon, in the weight room, and he was strong on the mat. But like when it came to the mat, I was stronger than him. You know what I mean? Like so he was way stronger than me in the weight room, but on the mat, I was stronger than him. So it like I feel like it doesn't always correlate. In that sense, like the weight room strength to the wrestling strength, but I wrestled a lot and I still wrestle a lot every day. And I feel like that's the best way that my muscles work. Like I get strong from just wrestling.
Johnny, I
It's true.
think the other thing too that Sebastian hit on is like everybody's like there's no strength when you're exhausted, so you got to be in shape for that too. But I also like the way Sebastian's talking about stuff. Don't get it misconstrued. Like Sebastian works really freaking hard. Like he's training really hard every day. And then the other thing is like I think his biggest separator is his mindset. Like just knowing him. I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit, Sebastian, about your injuries. I mean, just in college, he had, I don't know, 7 knee surgeries, and just, he'd come back where normal people, you got to ramp up again. It's got to be like after surgery, you got to ramp up. You probably got a month to get back in like wrestling shape and wrestle matches. It was like, he didn't have the luxury for that. It was this, go to Big Tens or just don't, your season's done. You don't get to go to postseason. And he'd show up and win the tournament after wrestling for a week, 2 weeks, so I think that mindset was his big separator, and the genetics part is a piece of it, but like it's a piece you can't control. So it's like backing it up with the other stuff.
Well,
but Sebastian,
Go
go ahead.
I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is Sebastian looks like a lot of guys who lift all the time, even at that weight class without lifting. So there's like, obviously there is an aspect to it, but the other thing is, and like Johnny talked about the NFL, I think it's the top end of wrestling too. Like at that level, everyone's got the genetics, like the talent, like it's pretty much like a prerequisite across the board. So you like, that's where the differentiators do come in, like the work ethic, the mindset, like what Ryan was saying, because everyone is like at the high end of Division I wrestling or in the NFL or whatever high level athletics you want to take. Like most of there's not anyone who has bad genetics in there. Those people have been filtered out already. And I think that's kind of the hard truth.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Fair. But just speaking on injuries, I felt like wrestling season's so hard. Like college wrestling is a long 6 months, whatever it is. Those two, I would only take 2 weeks off after my knee surgeries. Like, because Hal is like 4 weeks is too long. 2 weeks is
Bad
it.
man.
2 weeks, how long you get. So I got used to that. So after the first one, it was 4 weeks. He was like, nah, you can't do that again. So every single one after that was 2 weeks. I felt like the 2 weeks were a great break, just like mental break, body break. And like, I just felt excited to come back and wrestle. So like, that's what I think the injuries did for me and how I could come back. So it was just like a great break for the mind. And I was excited to wrestle again instead of like, oh, I got to make weight again. Like, no, I was excited to go out and compete. So that was probably the biggest thing.
What knee surgeries did you have?
Just all meniscus, no ACL stuff, but just all meniscus.
Me too. I had 4 of those in college.
Yeah.
So
it sucks.
I mean, it does suck. And coming back, I don't know if I ever did 2 weeks, but I think I did like 3 weeks a couple times, and that sucked. So you're definitely tougher than I am.
It's the swelling. I don't know. Like you tell your mind, don't swell, and it doesn't swell. You come back. All I needed to do was get those out and rub down those stars, and I was good to go. You hang out with Andrew Howe. You hang out with Andrew Howe for a month, you'd be back in 2 weeks. I promise.
He's a savage. The thing about him too is like he believes it. He would do the exact same thing, and you watch him like coaching. He was such a great role model because he was wrestling more than we were wrestling, and we were competing. And it was like there was times he'd wrestle 3-4 practices in a day, and it's like he would never ask you to do something that he wasn't willing to do. And so when he was like, "Hey, you're making this weight," it's like, "Yep, I'll make that weight." He's like, "Hey, you'll come back in 2 weeks from knee surgery." Yep, got it.
Got it.
He was, yeah, that's a good coach. He lead through action. But didn't he Ryan? He like actually made you take recovery seriously as well.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like he knew his athletes, and he knew what the right thing to say at the right time was. Like when he starts talking, like everybody's listening. He's got the respect of everybody. And he did it in like a loving way, but he also like knew how to have fun and then be serious when it needed to be serious. And yeah, he sat me down after junior year, and he's like, "Hey man, you're not 18 anymore. Take a rest day. It'll make you better. Take the rest day." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So yeah, I think he was super smart with all that stuff. His nutrition, sleep, recovery, just working hard, like he was definitely a great role model.
For sure. I felt like Deacon, you hated those days when he told you to take off. Those pissed you off. He was like,
"Dude, what are you gonna say when Howe tells you something like that?" You're like, "All right,
yeah, I know. You were like, "I don't want to take off. I don't want to take off." Well, Andrew's like, "You're taking off," and you're like, "Okay."
We were like looking back, Northwestern. We had some great coaches. I mean, we had Brewer, Storney, Jimmy, McMullen was there, Emery was there, bunch of RTC athletes. Like obviously, how we've been talking about this whole time. Like there was just so many great coaches. Switching gears a little bit, Sebastian, let's talk about the Olympics, man. What was that like? What was the opening ceremonies, athlete village, and then the actual competition?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for me. I was the last day, so I really didn't get to do a whole lot in Paris. But
yeah, the wrestlers get shafted.
Yeah, so I was just locked.
You're a flag bearer for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, so we could talk about that. It was awesome being on those boats and everything. It rained the whole time though, so that was brutal. You can't control the weather, But yeah, so it was just raining. But being the flag bearer was awesome. We were all dancing up there, Puerto Rican music, Bad Bunny playing and stuff. So it was really cool. But yeah, and then the village was cool too. I mean, is it like everybody makes it seem like me? I didn't get to see that side of it, like all the craziness that goes on there. I didn't see any of that.
What are you talking about?
Like, fuck that, you know what I'm saying, and all that stuff. Like,
no, I don't.
I wouldn't partake in it anyway, but like I'm just saying, I didn't see any of that happening anywhere. So I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, it was cool. We were by Team USA, so we were in a good location, which was nice. So like the wrestling room wasn't far, the food wasn't far, everything like that. The food was really bad, if you ask me. Kind of crazy. The sleeping conditions were really bad for athletes, high level athletes. Like we shouldn't be sleeping on a rock hard bed made out of cardboard with no AC. It's just a bad combination, if you ask me. But it's the way they did it. It is what it is. And then the food, like some days it would be chicken, and then the next day it'd be turkey breast instead of chicken. So like they're just switching it up too much. Just keep it simple: beef, chicken, rice. Like that's what high level athletes need to eat. And they were just trying to do too much, I thought, in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience. The venue was really awesome. They turned it into like a nightclub that at breaks and stuff. The place was jumping and a lot of music was being played. And yeah, it was a really cool venue for sure. And yeah, the crowd was awesome too. And they were cheering for me, so I can't complain.
How
Did
long
you,
did you spend in the village versus like where you guys prepared and trained? Like how many nights were you in the village leading
I've
up
been
to
for
when you
me, I
competed?
think 6 or 7 for me, and then like 5 for Darian maybe. Like so they had the rest a little earlier than me, but like I think 7 for me. I stayed one night for the opening ceremony and stuff like that. So overall, it was like 9 nights in the village, and then we were at in Dijon, Paris or France for 12 days, which was sick. It was like state of the art facility in the middle of South France. Like hot tub, beautiful sauna, cold tub, a track, a nice weight room with like treadmills, bikes, and it was really cool.
Darian was telling me they had like a weight room in there that was like a hyperbaric chamber. So you could like
Yeah.
choose what altitude you trained at.
Yep. He did that one
Oh,
thing with
wow.
Ethan Ramos. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's wild.
And-
At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is a perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio.
then there was another one where
That is
like
state of the art.
control the humidity in the room. So like you can make it super humid or super dry. So that was pretty cool as well.
what'd your peak look like? Like obviously getting ready for this competition, you don't want to overdo it, but what would take us through, I don't know, maybe the week or 2 weeks before?
Like how hard I was training.
Yeah, just like what the plan was leading up to it, because obviously wrestling's different. You got to make weight, but at the same time, you want to be fresh for your competition when you got to wrestle a bunch of matches.
I wrestle hard every day for the most part. I feel like it's a waste if I don't, So Buxton tries to dial it back a little bit, and I'll let him here and there. But for the most part, like I was wrestling Donnie just an hour, pretty much hard spar that whole week leading up. Maybe we'll play in some positions a little bit, but Buxton he'll bring the time down, but the intensity doesn't really change for me, So like it'll be like a 30 minutes of the wrestling, 10 minutes was a warm up, and then 5 minutes cooling down. So it's like a 45-minute go when it's getting close, you know what I mean? And I have to make weight, but
Yep.
Most of the time I'm just wrestling hard, and I want a live go in there. If I don't go live, I feel like I didn't wrestle hard. So it's just and these guys look at me like I'm crazy. Like the Puerto Ricans, like Ethan, Darian, and Jonathan, they're looking over like this dude is wrestling so hard and it's 3 days out. Like, yeah, that's just what I do, That's just the way we do it.
That's just Jersey.
Yeah.
I love it. I actually this is definitely a very wrestling training specific question, but one thing I think that a lot of coaches do get wrong is because I understand not wanting to overdo live wrestling, but I also think like a lot of coaches shy away from it a little too much. What do you think the optimal amount of live wrestling is? Like, let's say on any given week. I know that's really general because it depends if you're competing and all sorts of stuff, but
to me, I think a solid day is like 4 2-minute goes. I think that's
like 8 minutes a day.
Like if you're just trying to keep it to like a normal, like you drilled hard, you did everything else hard throughout the practice, 4 2-minute goes. However you want to break up 8 minutes, honestly, probably the best way. And some days I would say 12 should be the normal, but like you said, it depends on what's going on. But 8 to 12 minutes a day, I feel like it's a good amount.
I like that. It's a good rule of thumb. And last question on that is, when you approach live wrestling, like how do you approach live wrestling? Similar mindset to competing, or are you trying stuff? What's your? You try not to give up anything.
I'll try things, but with that are in my realm, and like maybe we're trying to work on this one thing, and I'll keep trying it. Like an outside step, I wasn't very good at it, but over time kept trying it, and now my outside step's really good, and now I can misdirect my outside step really well, and that comes from reps within live. and stuff like that, like just trying it and messing up and getting taken down because of it. But I would say, though, my rule, I am trying to embarrass you every time we wrestle live. I don't care what it is.
Jersey.
I am trying to embarrass you. I'm trying to make you be like, I do not want to wrestle this guy again. And that goes as a coach. And that goes as an athlete. It goes everywhere. Like even the guys now, like I'm coaching, like I'm trying to embarrass you, but it's going to make you tougher at the end of the day. There's a lesson at the end of it. There's a lesson at the end of it right now. But it's tough because I am still competing. Like I'm going to still compete. So I'm thinking about myself, but I'm also talking them through things. I'll stop in the middle of a live go and be like, you need to do this, this, and this. But I'm trying to embarrass you. And it is what it is.
What's your plan with competitions going forward? With obviously you're busy with coaching, and then obviously senior level, it's tough to you can't do 10 competitions a year like you could in college. What's the game plan for that?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it to 2 a year if I can, but it might have to be a little bit more than that. But that's my plan: is 2 a year. Just feel good, train really hard for those 2 events, whatever they might be. If it's 3, train hard for 3, and just go from there. But the world championship, I want to be a world champ, so that's what I'm training for.
Yeah, that's awesome. One other thing, I guess, maybe just, I think most people understand this, but just so that people get it, like, can you talk through a little bit, like how the Puerto Rico thing, just briefly, like how that works with being able to compete for Team Puerto Rico, and like obviously that's how you represent at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, honestly. It's the same passport as the USA passport, so you don't have to do anything crazy. You just have to have a grandparent or parent that was born in Puerto Rico. So I think we're running out. There's going to be a lot less Americans that are able to do this because people aren't being born in Puerto Rico. Like there was that exodus around that time, like where a lot of people were born there and then they moved to the States. Now everybody's being born in the States. So it's not going to be as easy. And I think it's just going to be back to Puerto Ricans here soon, that are full born Puerto Rican.
And are your training camps typically down in Puerto Rico? Like you got to go down there once or twice a year, or they're in the States?
Yeah, no, I go down there like 5 times a year. Like we'll do training camps down there, but a lot of times they come up to Lehigh or Rutgers and we do a training camp there a lot of times. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Because there's just more partners for everybody. We're in a college room with, there's guys at every weight, like 4 guys at every weight. You know what I mean? So.
No, it makes sense. The East Coast is such a great spot. Like if you're around that area, there's like, I don't know, 10 Division I schools within 3 hours.
Yep, exactly. Just makes sense.
So what about Colombia? What's what made you decide Colombia, and how's that going? I know that's fairly new here.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a college coach and it just didn't work out at Rutgers, and that it is what it is. But I love Donnie Pritzloff and I'm learning so much from him, and we hang out every day. I'm with him every day, riding the car with him every day. And it's like I'm hanging out with a friend, like my best friend every day. So it's been awesome, and who better to learn from than that guy? He's done everything that I want to do. So just following him along. And yeah, it's been working out well. We got Buxton now and Bolsack, and we're doing a good job of why'd you smile there, Deacon?
You said his name wrong. You told me how to say his name, and you said it wrong.
We're gonna run back
to
into the beginning of the show that you
remind that.
Wow. No, but I think that we're doing a great job of making these guys a lot tougher and better at wrestling, and it's rewarding, So I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is it harder to recruit at Columbia, given the academic?
Of course, yeah. So the academic part, you have to be really smart to get in. And luckily that there is a lot of wrestlers that are pretty good at wrestling that are smart and they care about their academics because they realize there's a life after wrestling, I think. So we're lucky that people care about the Ivy League look.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, the financial aid's tough too. There are no scholarships, but it is what it is. It's something you got to work around. And what are you going to do?
Honestly, might be good going forward with NIL and kind of profit sharing stuff going on soon. Like you guys might be in a good spot with all of that.
100%. Yeah, I think the Ivy League is your NIL. You want to be successful at the end of the day. Like $100,000 up front right now in your pocket, you're a dumb kid. You're going to spend a lot of that money and waste it. And at the end of the day, if you come out with a Columbia degree, you're going to build a lot of relationships and networks, and you're going to make a lot of money. So there's a bunch of ways to look at it. I just hope that they look at it the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
So as a coach now, and obviously as an athlete, where do you see the future of wrestling heading, and what do you feel like you're contributing to kind of making this change for that?
The future of wrestling, it's not going to a good spot, if you ask me. But all this, it's the wild, wild west right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's
What do you mean?
just
Take us through it.
there's just like a lot of nonsense going on with all this NIL stuff, poaching, and people getting paid $100,000 a year to wrestle, and they haven't even stepped foot on campus yet. Like, you don't even know if that guy's gonna be good. But people have money to throw out like that, so they're gonna do it, and they're gonna get a lot of good guys from it. But yeah, it is what it is. I just wish me and Deacon were in this era because we would have made a lot of money.
Yeah, go back.
Wish we
So
could
you like
go
it
back.
for the athlete.
for the athlete, it's great. How isn't it great, right? You're making, but for as a coach, I'm saying it's that
Yeah, it's tough.
spot to be in, you know. For the athlete, good for you. You're making money and you're wrestling, and yeah,
I think the problem with it, and if this is like the worldview on it, like the macro perspective, is ultimately there's only like so many programs that can bankroll the NIL like it needs to be bankrolled. Even like in wrestling, like you said, there's kids 100,000. There's guys I've heard anecdotally like getting 50K that have never All-Americaned. They're like qualified for nationals a couple times under the transfer portal. They're getting $50,000+.
Yep.
What's going to happen is like all the good kids are just going to end up at the same 10 programs in football, wrestling, you know, you name the sport, whatever 10 programs are willing to shovel out money like that.
Yep.
Hopefully. And I think you are like, there are still guys out there that take their education seriously. They look at a Columbia degree and are like, hey, lifetime value of that's a lot more than whatever NIL money I could get somewhere else. But it's also, you are an 18-year-old kid and someone offers you $100,000 to go somewhere and wrestle. It's like,
Can't blame them.
pretty hard to, pretty hard to say no.
yeah, 100%.
But I think the other thing is like transfer portal in and of itself is probably a good thing. NIL in and of itself is probably a good thing. Together, it's a nightmare because it's like there's no loyalty. You develop a kid, you invest resources and time into this, and then you're just developing a kid to get poached. And unless you have the money to defend that poaching, like, I don't know, you can't blame the kid if somebody comes up, it's like, hey, I'm going to give you a huge stack of cash, where wrestling's a sport that you're probably not going to make money after anyways. Like, that, go cash in, and you're insulated with a place like Columbia where you got a good degree. But the rules of the game are changing, and it's turning into a fundraising game too, where it's like, you got to have a fundraiser, you got to have a coach, you got to have different aspects of this business now, instead of just like develop your kids and have a good team. You could raise a lot of money and buy your team if you can do that.
Yeah, wrestling was a lot more fun, and there's, I don't know, like when we were in college, Deacon, there was a lot more good guys everywhere. You know what I mean? But like you were saying, Max, it's just they're all gonna funnel for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the problem with it. It's unlimited free agency right now.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it is the Wild West. Well, to Jai's question, how are you going to change it? Make Columbia a powerhouse?
Trying my best, man. Or get these smart kids good at wrestling, you know. But yeah, it's gonna be hard, and that's why it's fun though, because it is gonna be hard. And like I said, we just hope that degree holds value. That's the only thing we could do right now.
Yeah, I think the network and yeah, 100%. It's a weird time because I do think there's a certain line too where it's like, yeah, if this football player's making a university $50 million, they should probably see part of that.
Yeah.
Like I get that, but it is tough the way the current rules are. But I think the NCAA is in a weird spot where they've lost every single lawsuit, so they're kind of just like not touching it now. So yeah, I don't know.
There's a what's the word? It's like whatever. There's a waiver for everything now at the NCAA. There's anything. There's a waiver.
You still got 2 years of college. You go back.
Huh?
I said maybe you got 2 years of college still somehow.
I know, right?
Go back.
So you give it back.
So Sebastian, what about MMA? I know for a while in college you'd preach you were going to go fight eventually. Haven't talked to you about this recently, and I know obviously you grew up with Frankie. You saw a lot of his stuff. We've gone to some of his fights and stuff. Like what are you thinking on that level? Is that still a possibility in the future? Or is that kind of shut off?
Yeah, it's shut off. It's just like it's a hard way to get in. You got to do a lot of work. I would have to do a lot of work to get in, just to even get to the money of it. So you have to support yourself at the end of the day, and it would be hard at this point in my life to go from where I'm at, get all up to fight. Because if you're gonna do it, you got to do it wholeheartedly and commit to it. Yeah, it would be really hard to just give up this money.
I've heard, especially for people like you, like really accomplished wrestlers, it's actually really hard to get started because your first like few fights that are a requisite before you can even get looked at by the UFC, you need like a couple amateur, couple lower level pro. No one will take fights against the good wrestlers.
Yeah. So
you have to pay people a lot of times to fight you.
I know. And like
I've heard of this multiple times. Like it sucks.
Yeah, and then
it's not a.
And then you get at UFC, you're making 13 a fight. Like that's like chump change. You know what I mean? Takes a while to get to the big money stuff, and you're making 13,000 to show, 13 to win. You're doing that 4 times a year. Like you could just work an office job and make that much money.
Yeah, don't have to get punched in the head. For that.
Exactly. So
that's funny.
I'm gonna try to shoot. Frankie just opened up a gym down in Toms River, so I'm gonna try to shoot down there, and maybe I'll play around with it. But I don't see myself ever really taking it seriously.
If you're gonna get in the gym, I'm calling it now. Give it 2 years. Sebastian will have a fight under his belt. You start playing around with that, and you're like, just one fight, and it's like,
just one.
Just 2 fights.
Musakayev has an MMA fight. You go look it up on YouTube. He fought one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's just some of these guys. And you heard Sidikov trying, and there's a bunch of Russian guys trying to get into fighting now. So it'll be interesting to see how they do too.
Yeah, wrestlers do well, man. It's just like it's a lot more saturated now with wrestlers than it used to be. Because you used to shoot up quick, and now it's like there's a lot of fighters. There's a lot of good guys now.
They know how to wrestle, Even if they weren't wrestlers, everybody kind of knows how to wrestle now. They understand that that's a big part of it. So it's definitely getting harder.
Have you ever been in like trained with a bunch of the MMA guys in wrestling, especially the ones who don't know how to wrestle, or not don't know how to wrestle, but don't come from wrestling backgrounds?
Most people that I've played around with have wrestled in their background. Not too many. Even like
kind of.
You go.
So like Ryan and I, actually where we met was at a gym at a Muscle Farm back when they had a big fighting presence in Denver.
Yeah.
When I would go in and roll around with a lot of the guys, some of them were really good wrestlers of background. Some had no wrestling background. I would show up only for the wrestling practice. But I found when you would go with the guys with no wrestling background, you had to like dumb your wrestling down because they don't react.
Yeah.
Like how wrestlers react. You like can't set things up the same way.
And it's stupid. You can't hit a sweep single because they just limp knee out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no shoes. You're like, what the heck is this? You can't shoot low. You can't do any low shots. Yeah. It's like it is weird. Like you have to like almost like, okay, how did I wrestle in high school? That's how I got to wrestle this guy. Like because he's not very good. He's not going to react like a high level wrestler.
Yeah,
it's an interesting.
For sure, but like when
ankle pick's not working.
Huh?
Your ankle pick's not working on MMA guys.
Probably not. They just roll out. But like Edson
What were
and
you saying?
Harlan
Sorry.
were coming. They would come to wrestling. Dude, they were hard to take down, and they've never wrestled once in their life. Like, they're so good at, like, they
That's
have their leg in the air, turning down and kicking away, and because they're the no shoe thing. But dude, even guys that don't know how to wrestle, they still have a little bit.
and all the guys who don't have a wrestle, they spend all their time learning defense.
Yes.
So that you're just wrestling like a purely defensive guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting you say that though, Sebastian, because it feels like jujitsu you can learn at older ages. Most people that try to learn wrestling past like 20 just doesn't really go well. Like they just don't really have the feel. So it's interesting that they were able to figure that out.
Yeah, we're gonna get Johnny in.
What do you
Sebastian.
think they were
He's an
so good at
adopted
teaching?
wrestler now.
Is he adopted wrestler?
Yeah. We're gonna just send him out. He's gonna live with you for a month.
All right, we'll get him
You'll
right.
turn him into a wrestler.
Yeah, we'll get him right.
We'll get it right. That's awesome.
I mean, so Sebastian, you obviously live a very savage life, as we would like to say, right? And in order to be a savage and achieve the milestones that you have, what would you say is kind of 3 pieces of advice that you would give to people out there, specifically males who want to live a savage life? What do we have to do to be a savage like yourself?
The biggest thing is find peace in the suffering in your life. I think I got that tattooed on me because it's just something I found peace with. Like, I suffer a lot in this sport, and I found peace in it. And I know it's going to make me a better person at the end of the day. That's number 1. Number 2, balance in life is a big thing, and people don't understand that. Especially like wrestling dads, they don't understand balance. So like,
And Max.
you need balance. Balance makes everything in life a little bit more enjoyable. And then lastly, that's it. Those are the 2 things. That's all I got. Balance and
Well,
find
me too.
peace.
I
Wrestle
love
people.
it.
Wrestle people till you make them cry.
Basically.
Yeah.
Wrestle really.
Try and embarrass everyone.
Yeah.
Embarrass
Yeah.
everyone that you can. Yeah.
That's how you know you're wrestling
No,
hard.
that's well, that's awesome, Sebastian. Dude, appreciate it, man. You're the man. We'll definitely want to keep up to date with everything going on at Columbia. Thanks for coming on. It was sweet catching up about everything. I appreciate everything you've done personally, dude. It was awesome, wrestling with you growing up. You definitely made me a better wrestler in college, and yeah, excited to continue to watch you win a world title here coming up.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's fun.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for coming.